You know what's funny about life? We all walk around pretending it's this serious, well-written movie, like we're the main character in a story that's supposed to make sense. We get up every day trying to find meaning, trying to fit things together, hoping the universe has some sort of plan for us. But here's the joke, it doesn't. There is no grand plot. There's no writer sitting up there perfectly aligning your heartbreak, your job loss, and that time your car broke down in the rain into some poetic little lesson. No, it's all just chaos, pretending to be order, and you, my friend, are just trying to make it through the scene without forgetting your lines. You plan your life like it's supposed to go somewhere. You study, you work, you fall in love, you make goals because everyone told you that's what you're supposed to do. Find your purpose, chase your dreams, be productive. And then you do all that, but somehow you still end up lying. Awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering why none of it feels as deep or as rewarding as you thought it would. That's because life isn't a serious movie with a deep message. It's a messed up improv show where everyone's pretending to know what's happening. You say your line, someone forgets theirs, the audience gets confused, and then suddenly someone starts crying in the corner. That's basically adulthood. The universe doesn't owe you a well-written story. It doesn't owe you fairness or balance or even timing. It's not cruel, it's just indifferent. And that's what makes it kind of funny. We take every little inconvenience like it's personal. You spill coffee on your shirt before a big meeting, you think the universe is out to get you. Your flight gets delayed, your phone dies, someone cuts you off in traffic, and you immediately start believing there's some cosmic conspiracy against your happiness. But maybe, just maybe, it's all random. Maybe the universe isn't testing you. Maybe it's just doing what it's always done, spinning around, throwing chaos like confetti, and watching everyone try to make it mean something. The moment you stop expecting it to make sense, life starts feeling lighter. You stop being a victim of every bad day and start becoming an observer of this big, ridiculous show. Because when you laugh at the chaos, you take its power away. The problem isn't that life is messy, it's that we expect it not to be. We think we're supposed to figure it all out, but what if there's nothing to figure out? What if the whole point is to stop pretending there's a point and just exist messy, confused, emotional, inconsistent, and still be okay with it? That's when you really start living. People love to say things like everything happens for a reason. It's comforting, I get it. It makes the randomness feel less cruel. But deep down, sometimes things just happen, and that's it. There's no lesson, no silver lining, no poetic reason behind why you lost that job or why someone broke your heart. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, and good things happen to people who probably shouldn't even be allowed to have a good day. That's not destiny, that's just life doing its thing. And instead of trying to decode it, maybe the smarter move is to just laugh at it. Because when you laugh, you're not giving up, you're letting go. You're saying, all right, I see what you're doing, life, nice one. You're playing along instead of fighting the script. And that's freedom, not needing to control every outcome, not needing to understand every moment, not needing to turn every mistake into some motivational quote, just laughing, because what else can you do? You either cry about it, or you see the humor in how absurd it all is. Think about it. Every time you've been embarrassed, frustrated, or disappointed, those are the same stories that make people laugh later. The breakup that crushed you becomes the punchline of a story you tell at dinner. The day you thought everything was falling apart becomes the day you realize it actually pushed you towards something better. We live through moments thinking they're tragic, but from a distance, they're usually hilarious. That's life's timing, terrible when you're in it, perfect when you look back. We spend so much time pretending we know what we're doing. We dress it up in ambition, in confidence, in seriousness, like if we take life seriously enough, it'll start taking us seriously too. But no one really knows what's going on. Everyone's improvising, everyone's scared, everyone's making it up as they go. The people who look like they've got it all figured out are usually just better at hiding their confusion. And the rest of us are standing around waiting for instructions that will never come. That's the beautiful mess of it. You're not supposed to have it figured out. You're supposed to stumble, laugh, cry, screw up, try again, and then one day, maybe, realize that was the whole thing. The mess was the point. The moment you start laughing at the randomness, you become untouchable. Not in a cold or careless way, but in a free way. Because you're not expecting life to make you happy anymore. You're creating your own joy in spite of it. You're finding humor in heartbreak, peace in confusion, and confidence in the fact that nobody, absolutely nobody, has a clue what they're doing either. That's not cynicism, that's relief. That's you letting go of the illusion that you were ever supposed to be in control. The beauty of being the punchline is that you don't have to prove anything anymore. You can finally stop performing. You can finally stop waiting for approval. You can stop comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. You can just exist, laugh at your own awkwardness, embrace your own mistakes, and know that everyone else is doing the same, just pretending a little harder. Life becomes lighter when you realize you're not in a competition, you're in a sketch show with no script and too many ad-libs. And when you trip, the crowd laughs. When you forget your lines, someone improvises. When you mess up, that's just another moment for the story. You see, the joke isn't on you, you are the joke. You're the punchline that life keeps setting up again and again, and once you start laughing along, you stop feeling like the victim of the joke and start becoming part of the act. The difference between misery and freedom is how seriously you take the chaos. If you expect it to be perfect, you'll always be disappointed. But if you expect it to be messy and absurd, you'll always find something to smile about. So maybe stop trying to rewrite the script. Stop waiting for everything to make sense. Maybe the universe isn't out to teach you, fix you, or guide you. Maybe it's just here to make you laugh until you stop pretending that everything matters so much. Because the truth is, none of us are getting out of this story alive anyway, so we might as well enjoy the comedy while we're here. And that's the twist, the punchline hidden in plain sight. The moment you stop taking the chaos personally, it stops hurting so much. You start seeing the beauty in the absurdity, the freedom in the nonsense, and the humor in your own struggle. That's when you finally get the joke, not because you figured life out, but because you realized it was never meant to make sense in the first place. You ever notice how everyone's out there trying to look like they've got life completely under control? Like, we all wake up, get dressed, walk out the door, and start pretending we're experts at being human. It's almost funny because deep down, nobody really knows what they're doing. We just copy what we see other people doing, who are also copying other people, and the whole thing becomes this giant loop of confused people pretending to be confident. You wake up, scroll through your phone, see everyone looking happy, busy, successful, and you think, man, everyone's doing great except me. But the truth is, most of them are sitting in the bathroom at work questioning every decision they've ever made. Life has this weird way of making us think there's a right way to live. You grow up, and everyone tells you the formula: go to school, get a job, find love, buy stuff, stay busy, and eventually everything will make sense. But it never does. You follow all the rules, and somehow you still end up feeling lost, like there's something missing. And then you look around and see everyone else clapping for themselves, posting pictures, acting like they've figured it all out. But that's just another part of the show. We're all actors in this endless performance called I'm fine. We smile on cue, talk about success like it's a currency, and hide our confusion behind small talk. And it's exhausting, isn't it? Pretending to know where you're going, pretending that every choice you make is the right one, pretending that you're not constantly second-guessing yourself. But maybe that's the real joke that we think we're supposed to know. We think life comes with some secret instruction manual that everyone else got except us. But maybe the point was never to know. Maybe the point was to feel it out, to make it up as you go, to accept that confusion isn't a sign of failure, it's a sign you're alive. Think about it. Every major thing you've done in life started with not knowing what you were doing. Your first job, you didn't have a clue. The first time you fell in love, you were completely lost. The first time you tried to fix yourself, you were improvising. And yet, here you are. You made it through every single moment you thought you couldn't handle. Every time you said, I can't do this, you still did it. Not because you knew how, but because you showed up anyway. That's the beauty in not knowing. It forces you to be real. It strips away the illusion that control equals safety. You learn to trust yourself, not because you have a plan, but because you keep surviving without one. We live in a world obsessed with certainty. People want answers, systems, hacks, routines, formulas, something to make them feel like life can be tamed. But you can't tame life. It's too wild for that. It doesn't care about your 5-year plan or your vision board. You make plans, and life just laughs, not in a cruel way, but in that kind of you'll see way. You can prepare all you want, but one random event can flip everything. You lose a job, you get a call that changes your direction, you fall for someone you didn't expect, and suddenly your whole story shifts. And that's the crazy thing. Those unplanned moments often become the best parts. You see, control is an illusion we cling to because it feels safer than chaos. We'd rather pretend we know than admit we don't. But pretending only makes the fall harder when life inevitably proves us wrong. When you accept that control is limited, you stop fighting the flow. You stop being so scared of uncertainty because you realize that's where everything actually happens. Growth, love, change, they all start with not knowing. You can't plan your way into the best moments of your life. You stumble into them, you trip, fall, and somehow land exactly where you needed to be. The moment you stop trying to make everything make sense, something shifts. You become lighter. You start to breathe again. You stop trying to explain your path to people who don't get it. You stop apologizing for not being further along. You realize there's no finish line, no scoreboard, no invisible judge keeping track of your progress. You are the only one living your story, and you don't owe anyone a perfect explanation. Life doesn't need to look organized to be meaningful. It just needs to feel real. And sometimes real doesn't look pretty. Sometimes it's confusion, sometimes it's boredom, sometimes it's heartbreak, sometimes it's standing in your kitchen wondering what the hell you're doing with your life. But even that has value, because that's where you discover who you actually are, not the version you post, not the version you sell, but the one who exists when the noise fades and it's just you and your thoughts. That version, the one who's uncertain, emotional, flawed, that's the real you. And once you stop being ashamed of that, life starts to make a different kind of sense. We spend so much time worrying about being behind as if life's a race. You see people your age doing more, having more, achieving more, and you start panicking like there's some invisible deadline you're missing. But maybe you're not late. Maybe you're right on time for your own story. Everyone's timeline is a different movie, and comparing them just makes you miserable. You don't see the bloopers in someone else's film. You just see the final cut. You see their highlight reel and think your rough draft is a failure. But no one gets through life without scenes that go completely off script. You're supposed to have bad takes. You're supposed to forget your lines. You're supposed to laugh halfway through a breakdown. That's how you know you're living, not just performing. The truth is, the people who seem the happiest aren't the ones who have everything figured out. They're the ones who've made peace with not knowing. They've stopped chasing perfection. They've stopped needing every answer before taking a step. They just live. They fail, they fall, they get back up, and they laugh about it. Because at some point, you realize that even if you plan everything perfectly, life will still throw you curveballs, so you might as well loosen up and swing anyway. You ever think about how fragile it all is? One random day, you wake up and everything changes. A conversation, a choice, a single moment, and suddenly the version of you that existed yesterday is gone. Life doesn't ask for permission before flipping your script. And that's both terrifying and beautiful, because it means you can always start over. It means even when everything goes wrong, there's still another act waiting. You're not stuck, you're just in between punchlines. And maybe that's the trick to peace, not trying to make life perfect, but realizing it never will be. It's supposed to be unpredictable. It's supposed to confuse you, frustrate you, surprise you, break you a little, and then make you laugh about how seriously you took it. When you understand that, you stop fighting every twist and turn. You stop waiting for the right time. You stop chasing a version of life that doesn't exist. You just live raw, unpolished, imperfectly human. You learn to find humor in your own contradictions. You wake up one day feeling unstoppable, and the next day can't even get out of bed, and you realize both days are valid. You say something dumb, make a mistake, lose your patience, fail publicly, and you realize none of it defines you. You're allowed to be both confident and clueless, brave and terrified, certain and lost. Because that's what being alive really means, holding both chaos and calm in the same breath and somehow laughing anyway. So maybe instead of trying to fix life, we should just experience it. Instead of trying to be perfect, we should aim to be present. Instead of chasing meaning, we should make meaning. Because maybe the whole joke is that there was never a secret formula to begin with. Maybe the people who seem happiest aren't living a better story. They're just enjoying the absurdity of their own. At the end of the day, you're not supposed to win at life. You're supposed to live it, to stumble through it, laugh at it, feel it, survive it. You're supposed to make peace with the chaos and find beauty in the breakdowns. Because when you finally stop pretending that life is a serious test you have to pass, you realize it's just a long, ridiculous, beautiful story, and somehow you're lucky enough to be part of it. You ever notice how we spend most of our lives trying to look like we're okay, even when we're not? It's like this unspoken rule of being human: don't let anyone see you fall apart. Smile in public, break down in private. Keep it together, no matter what. Because somewhere along the line, we all got convinced that struggling means failing. That if you're lost or hurting or unsure, something's wrong with you. But here's the twist. That's actually the most normal part of being alive. The struggle isn't proof that you're broken, it's proof that you're trying. Life's weird like that. It teaches you through discomfort. It doesn't hand you peace. It makes you earn it by walking through chaos. The pain you try so hard to hide is usually the very thing shaping you. You can't grow without getting uncomfortable, and you can't get comfortable until you stop pretending you're not. Everyone wants the reward without the process, the lesson without the pain, but life doesn't work that way. It's not a vending machine. You don't put in effort and instantly get clarity back. You put in confusion, frustration, heartbreak, and months or years later, you realize those moments were building you quietly. The problem is, no one tells you that. We grow up thinking life is supposed to be a straight line. You work hard, you get rewarded. You do good, good things happen. You plan, and everything goes according to it. But the reality? It's a mess. A series of wrong turns, random detours, and occasional moments where it all somehow clicks. You'll make choices that feel right and still end up hurt. You'll do everything right and still lose things you care about. And then you'll blame yourself. Because we've all been taught that when life falls apart, it's our fault. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's just life doing what it does, teaching you through collapse. The truth is, most of the best parts of who you are were born in moments that hurt. Think about it. The strength you have now came from a time when you thought you had none. The empathy you show came from knowing what it's like to be misunderstood. The patience you have was built through waiting when you didn't want to. You were shaped by every single thing that went wrong, every rejection, every heartbreak, every failure. Those moments weren't detours. They were the road itself. You just couldn't see it while walking through it. We like to believe pain has no purpose, that it's just something we have to get through. But pain is one of life's most honest teachers. It strips away the unnecessary. It shows you what matters. When you're in pain, the noise fades, the opinions, the comparisons, the shallow stuff, and all that's left is what's real. That's why people change after hard times. They stop caring so much about being liked, about being perfect, about being impressive. They start caring about peace, about truth, about presence. You can't fake your way through pain. It's the one thing that demands honesty. And yet, we spend so much time trying to numb it. We distract ourselves with screens, work, relationships, anything to avoid sitting with our feelings, because sitting with them feels unbearable. But the thing is, what you don't face doesn't go away. It just waits. It waits in the background, shaping your choices, building walls, making you afraid of things you don't even understand. Healing. And starts the moment you stop running. The moment you stop trying to escape your own reflection. It's not dramatic, it's quiet. It's you, alone, finally saying, all right, this hurts, but I'm not going anywhere. It's strange, but sometimes pain gives you something peace never could: clarity. You start seeing what actually matters. You start noticing how many things you used to chase that don't even mean anything now. You realize you were building your life around things that never made you feel alive in the first place. You were chasing approval, validation, status, and in losing them, you found yourself. That's the irony. You think falling apart is the end, but sometimes it's the beginning of becoming real. And you know what's even funnier? Once you've gone through enough, the little things stop bothering you. You don't stress over every small inconvenience anymore. Someone's rude to you, okay. You fail at something, fine. Plans fall apart, whatever. You've seen worse. You've survived worse. That's the quiet power pain gives you. It humbles you without breaking you. It teaches you to let go without bitterness. You stop demanding that life be easy and start appreciating that you're strong enough to handle it when it's not. But the world doesn't celebrate that kind of growth, does it? It celebrates success. It claps for achievements, not for endurance. No one applauds you for getting out of bed after a week of anxiety. No one cheers when you choose to forgive or when you start again after losing everything. But those are the real victories, the ones that don't trend, the ones no one sees. Because healing isn't loud. It's not glamorous. It's sitting alone in silence, forgiving yourself, forgiving others, and deciding you're still going to show up anyway. And maybe that's the whole point. Maybe life isn't about becoming untouchable. It's about learning how to keep your heart open even after it's been bruised 100 times. It's about laughing again, trusting again, trying again, even when you know you could get hurt. That's courage. That's what makes you human. Because if you close yourself off completely, you might avoid pain, but you'll also miss everything good that comes with it. Love, connection, joy, they all require the same vulnerability that once broke you. Sometimes the people who seem the happiest aren't the ones who've avoided pain, they're the ones who made peace with it. They've learned to let it coexist with joy. They've stopped waiting for life to be pain-free before allowing themselves to smile. They understand that happiness isn't the absence of suffering, it's the decision to keep living fully, even while carrying it. That's a different kind of strength. Not the kind you show off, the kind you carry quietly. The kind that says, yeah, this hurts, but I'm still here. And that's what makes you resilient. Not perfection, not pretending, just showing up again and again, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you don't have answers. That's what gives life meaning, not the easy parts, but the parts that force you to grow. It's funny how we spend so much time trying to avoid pain when it's the very thing that makes us real. Without it, we'd all be hollow, all surface, no depth. You can't appreciate light if you've never sat in darkness. You can't understand joy without knowing what loss feels like. You can't truly love until you've felt the ache of it leaving. And the more you live, the more you realize pain never really leaves you. It just changes shape. It becomes softer, wiser. It stops screaming and starts whispering. It becomes part of your story, not as a wound, but as a reminder that you've survived before and you can survive again. That every time life threw something at you, you bent but didn't break. That every version of you that fell apart made space for a new one to rise. That's what resilience really is, not bouncing back to who you were, but growing into someone you never knew you could be. So maybe we need to stop treating pain like the enemy. Maybe it's not there to destroy you, maybe it's there to reveal you, to remind you that you're still capable of feeling deeply, of caring, of trying. Because the opposite of pain isn't happiness, it's numbness. And numbness might feel safe, but it's not living. Feeling even when it hurts means you're still in the game. It means you haven't given up on being human. And when you finally reach that point where you can look back on everything, the confusion, the heartbreak, the disappointments, and instead of resenting it, you can smile a little and say, yeah, that was rough, but it made me who I am. That's when you've won. Not because you escaped the pain, but because you stopped being afraid of it. Because you realize that the same life that hurt you also healed you, and that every version of yourself, even the broken ones, mattered in getting you here. And that's the quiet punchline. Life hides in all its chaos. The things that felt like the end were actually the beginning. The pain you thought would ruin you became the reason you finally started to understand yourself. The heartbreak that tore you apart made room for a softer, stronger kind of love. The failure that embarrassed you pushed you towards something truer. It's all connected, even when it feels random. Life has this way of making sense in hindsight, like a joke that finally lands after years of confusion. You laugh, not because it was funny back then, but because you finally get it. Because you realize that all along, the punchline wasn't about the pain, it was about who you became because of it. You know, the longer you live, the more you start realizing that most of the things you once thought were important really aren't. You spend so many years trying to win, trying to be right, trying to be seen, trying to matter in some grand, dramatic way, and then one day it just hits you. None of it actually changes anything. You win an argument, and what happens? Nothing. You impress a room full of people, and a week later, they don't even remember your name. You chase validation, thinking it's the cure to your insecurity, but it's just another addiction, the applause fades, and you're right back where you started, wondering if you're enough. Life keeps dangling approval in front of you like a prize, and we keep falling for it, thinking the next round of attention will finally make us feel whole. But it never does. It's like chasing smoke. The more you grab, the less you hold. We grow up believing that we're supposed to be somebody, not just anybody, but somebody. Someone successful, admired, respected. And sure, ambition isn't bad. It keeps us moving. But somewhere along the way, it starts turning toxic. You start measuring yourself against everyone else, like life's a scoreboard that you're somehow behind on. You look at other people and think, they're ahead, I'm late. You forget that no one's running the same race as you, that everyone's carrying a completely different story. And the cruel part is, even the ones who look like they've made it are usually just as lost as you are. They're just better at pretending. There's this quiet kind of freedom that comes when you finally stop needing to prove yourself, when you stop needing people to see your worth before you can believe in it yourself. When you stop chasing acknowledgement and start creating peace instead. Because the truth is, no one's keeping score. No one's watching you as closely as you think. Everyone's too busy worrying about themselves to notice your every move. You could fail 100 times, disappear for a year, start over completely, and the world would just keep spinning. It's humbling and freeing at the same time. You realize how small your ego is compared to the size of life itself. We spend so much time trying to protect our image, trying to look strong, successful, in control. But control is just another illusion. You can't control how people see you. You can't control what they think or how long they'll stay. You can only control how honest you're willing to be about who you really are. And that honesty, that's where the real power is. Because once you stop pretending, you stop fearing exposure. When you've got nothing to hide, no version of yourself you're trying to sell, no narrative you're desperate to protect, you become untouchable. And it's funny how much energy we waste trying to curate our lives like we're on display. Social media, conversations, relationships, we're constantly editing ourselves. We filter our truths to sound palatable. We hide the mess, the insecurities, the parts that make us feel human. And for what? To impress people who are doing the exact same thing? It's exhausting. It's like we're all playing this game of emotional poker, pretending to have better cards than we do, terrified someone will call our bluff. But what's the worst that happens if they do? They see you're human. Congratulations, so is everyone else. The people who seem the most at peace aren't the ones who have everything. They're the ones who've let go of everything that doesn't matter. They've stopped needing to be seen a certain way. They've accepted that not everyone will like them, not everyone will understand them, and not everyone's supposed to. And when you stop trying to win people over, you start winning something much more valuable, your own presence. You get to actually be where you are without constantly thinking about how it looks. Life isn't about performing anymore. It's about participating. You don't need to be the star of every scene. Sometimes the best moments happen when you stop trying to stand out and just let yourself blend in, when you stop trying to be impressive and start trying to be real. Because here's the thing, authenticity doesn't need an audience. It just needs you to stop apologizing for existing exactly as you are. There's also something strangely peaceful about realizing you're not that important. Not in a depressing way, but in a freeing one. When you stop believing the world revolves around your story, you stop taking everything so personally. Someone ignores your message, maybe they're just busy. Someone criticizes you, maybe it's more about their pain than your flaws. Everything stops feeling like an attack when you stop making yourself the center of everything. You start laughing more. You start letting go faster. You stop needing closure for every little thing. You start seeing that life doesn't owe you constant fairness, and that's okay. It's almost like the joke's been sitting there the whole time we spend our lives chasing approval from a crowd that's too distracted to care. We trade peace for perception. We sacrifice authenticity for acceptance. We forget that the people who actually matter will love us whether we succeed or fail, and the ones who don't, well, they were never ours to begin with. You can't lose people who are meant for you. You can only lose the illusion of who you thought you needed to be to keep them. And maybe that's where real confidence begins, when you stop performing for people who don't even know what they want. When you stop pretending your life's a competition and start treating it like what it really is, a temporary experience. Because that's what it is, right? Temporary. One day, all the things you're stressing about, the status, the recognition, the opinions, they'll all fade. No one's gonna remember how many followers you had, how expensive your car was, how many likes your last post got. They'll remember how you made them feel. They'll remember if you were kind, if you were honest, if you were there. Everything else, noise. The irony is, the less you try to control your image, the more people connect with you. Because everyone's tired of the performance. Everyone's craving something real. When you're genuine, when you talk about your fears, your failures, your doubts, people don't see weakness, they see truth. And truth is magnetic. It makes people feel safe. It makes them exhale and say, finally, someone who's not pretending. That's the kind of impact that actually lasts, not the one that impresses, but the one that connects. And that connection doesn't come from perfection. It comes from honesty, from owning your mess without shame, from saying, yeah, I don't have it all figured out. Sometimes I feel lost. Sometimes I mess up, but I'm still here. That's not failure, that's humanity. That's what makes people relate to you. Because everyone's out there fighting their own invisible battles, and half the time, they just need to know they're not the only ones. It's strange, but when you stop trying to be extraordinary, you start realizing how extraordinary the ordinary really is. Sitting with someone and actually listening, laughing until your stomach hurts, watching the sky change color at sunset. Those things we overlook because we're too busy chasing something bigger. They're the real moments that make life worth living. You don't need a grand purpose. You just need presence. You don't need to be somebody else's definition of success. You just need to be someone you can live with when you're alone. So much of peace comes from surrender, not giving up, but letting go. Letting go of the need to be seen a certain way. Letting go of the idea that you're supposed to be anywhere other than where you are. Letting go of the belief that every mistake ruins you. It doesn't. You can start again as many times as you need to. You can be a mess and still be worthy. You can fall apart and still come back stronger. That's not weakness, that's resilience. That's real life. And maybe that's the quiet punchline life's been trying to tell us the whole time. You're not the main character in some grand cosmic drama. You're just one of billions of people trying to figure it out. And there's something beautiful about that. The pressure drops, the competition disappears. You realize that you don't need to win at life, you just need to live it. To show up, to care, to laugh, to fail, to forgive, to begin again. Because in the end, no one's keeping score. No one's judging your story. Life isn't asking you to be perfect, it's just asking you to be present enough to laugh when it doesn't go your way. And maybe that's all it ever wanted from you. To stop performing and just be.